Hi, this is the second video on how to give your testimony effectively. So I want to look at some things that you should have in your testimony and some things you shouldn't, do's and don'ts. So here's a list. First of all, do share what God has done, but don't share your life story. You know, quite often when I hear people get up to give a testimony, they start in 1967 and they begin to go through all the different phases of their life. And then when they get towards the end, say, and God made me, know that I was a sinner and I put my trust in Christ and I'm saved now. So there's like 5 or 10 seconds about what God actually done. So that's not a testimony to God. It's your life story. And you really need to work at cutting that out. You're trying to give testimony to God. So do share what God has done. Don't share your life story. Do think what God did and try to express it, how you were feeling, what you were thinking, maybe your struggles, how you came to that final conclusion. Just think through what God was doing and try to express it. Don't assume people can join up the dots. Don't say something and imagine that they will understand what you're talking about. You need to explain what was happening there. Okay, do stick to the time breakdown, the elements I talked about, 2 minutes, 4 minutes and 1 minute. Don't rush over how God worked because that's the main part of the testimony. Do glorify God, that's no great surprise, but don't glorify the devil. Often when we're talking about what kind of a sinner we were beforehand, we can go into some really unnecessarily gory details that really just make people sit up to listen to the gossip. And therefore it really glorifies the devil and not God. We've got to watch on that. But you do need to explain enough for people to understand why you knew you were not a good person that deserved to go to heaven. Do stick to what actually happened. Don't embellish. Sometimes we hear other people's testimonies that are very dramatic, the axe murderer that got saved in prison or Nicky Cruz, and we think our testimony is boring. And therefore we tend to spice it up a wee bit and embellish it, say things that didn't actually happen. God can't bless something that's not true. But here's the truth, 80 to 90% of the people you're going to be meeting are not axe murderers, 99%. They're people just like you, ordinary people, lived ordinary lives. Your testimony is relevant. To listen to an axe murderer, it generally is just dramatic, but it's not, but I'm not that kind of person, so I don't deserve to go to hell. You understand? So your testimony is very, very personally relevant. Avoid Christian jargon. That's something you really have to work at because there's so many phrases and terms we use that's not understandable to someone who doesn't know the Lord. I've heard somebody give a testimony and say, and then I was washed in the blood of the Lamb. Can you imagine what an unbeliever, what kind of cult is this I'm getting involved in? That's the kind of phrases we can slip into using. So do avoid jargon. But don't use street language. Don't make your testimony just too cocky, and even using bad language. So don't do those things. Just avoid that kind of thing. And then do plan your start and your finish. Sometimes when you listen to a person's testimony, it's a bit like an airplane journey, It takes off okay. They're giving the whole sort of story about the situation, how God worked, and it's all going fine. And then they come to the finishing point and it goes something like this. Down, whoop, up again, and so forth. In other words, they don't know where to finish and they keep adding little extra bits. Suddenly you lose the whole effectiveness of the testimony. But do be careful when you're giving your testimony not to go off on a tangent. That's why it's good to plan it off, because you can end up taking too long and you can end up going into stuff that isn't clear. Okay, those are some of the thoughts. What I suggest you do is write out your testimony using the thoughts that I've given here so as you can, wisely prepare your testimony so you aren't going off into extended random areas. And then you could send the testimony. After you've done it, look at it and go back again and cut out stuff that you realise is jargon or is not to the point. And then I'm very happy for you to send to me and we could talk through more. Or you can write to me and say, well, I can't understand about this. I don't see this in my life, whatever. We can talk more about it. Okay, God bless you.